We're opening the regular meeting of the Board of Education School District number 40 at 6 p.m. on Monday, July 22nd, 4th, in the Bartlett Performing Arts Center. Roll call. Audrey Adamson.
Here.
Chad Smith.
Here.
Mona Dixon.
Here.
Jason Farrell. Here. Lindsay Hines.
Here.
Andrew Ware. Here. Aaron Walter Smith.
Here.
We do not have any members. Stay remotely. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Education, June 24th, 2024. All in favor? Opposed? Minutes of the approval of the minutes of the special meeting of Board of Education, July 25th, 2024, or July 15th. All in favor? Opposed? All right, communications, public comment and participation, we have two. Diane Moore.
Yeah, thank you. I am the president of the Mowing Preservation Society, and for those of you who are not aware, I'm also one of the authors of Horton Field House. I am here to ask your permission to landmark Horton Field House for landmarking for the city of Moline. And so I have for each one of you a folder. And in it is all the information about landmarking, so in case you have questions. Ask. And because of my 5-minute limit, I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer very many of them. But in there you will find a list of all the other buildings on the left-hand side that are historic landmarks. Most of them are buildings that are commercial. You have a couple of them that are residential. Then there is a pamphlet on things to know when considering landmarking and how to nominate. Well, you don't have to worry about how. I'm the one that's going to be doing it. So all I need from you is a yes, go ahead, at some point. On the right-hand side, you will see the actual questions about what is a historic landmark, what you have to do to qualify, what are the things. I have written some of these, and it has to be either historic or cultural, significant to the community. When and then the back of it is the actual process and filling out that application and then answering all the questions. I will be using all the information from the book on a century of players, performers, and pageants about Horton Field House. Most of the work was done by Kurt Grossman, and it was very nice of him to put my name on it. I will have to say I enjoyed digging around in the board of the dispatch and finding all the old photographs and all the information and coming up with such interesting facts about Horton. I think that this is a building that goes to the heart of anybody who lives in Moline or has been here for a long time. And any other community is very jealous of the fact that we have it. It was one of the 35 largest high school venues for basketball in the country. It is listed as one of the top 10 to 20 best places to play high school basketball. But it's not just basketball. It is all the political and the cultural things that have gone there, from 7 days of John Deere's anniversary celebrations where everybody from all the factories came for a night of entertainment. It's just political rallies, all kinds of things. So take your time, look at it. If you have any questions, you can call myself or Barb Sandberg. They're in there. Barb could not make it. She came down with bronchitis and she's been fighting it for the last week and a half. She is a member of the Preservation Society, but she is also a member of the Mullen Preservation Commission. So once it's written, it goes to the Preservation Commission, they go through their steps, and then goes to the city council, and they approve it, and then plaque is put on the building, recognizing it as the landmark. Okay, so do you have any questions at this point that you have of me? Yeah, no?
Typically in public comments, we don't
Okay,
answer.
that's fine.
But we have your contact information and we appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is Susan Hafner.
I just want to kind of, a little background of what I'm going to speak about. They really happened quite a long time ago. And most people don't even realize they're current. And some may have forgotten. So anyways, the topic I'm talking about is basically the desire to return to a full 7-period day at the high school and increase the graduation credit requirements. So I am Susie Hafner, and I'm the ME president and a teacher at Moline High School. And in recent months, I've been meeting with administration in an effort to right a wrong that occurred over a decade ago. A time many people don't know about or have forgotten in the numerous years that have passed. And at that time, the district was feeling the after effects of the 2008 financial crisis. And our then superintendent decided to take drastic measures to make budget cuts. One of those measures was paying 12 teachers from Moline High School. The impact on our students was felt in a number of ways. Nearly half of our students could no longer take 7 academic classes and would be required to take study halls. The way that they decided who would be in a study hall was sadly based on the results of the tests. This led to lower student engagement and fewer choices for electives, the classes that some of our students need to feel connected to school, such as art, industrial tech, facts, and even some of the more engaging sections of our core classes. Because of the inability for all students to have an equal opportunity to a full 7-period day, it was decided to also lower the graduation credit requirements from 23 to 21.5, which you'll see on the sheet that I passed out to you. Now, we have an opportunity to return MHS to the school it once was. We can slowly add back those teachers and return our school day to one that encourages our students to take classes that appeal to their interests, leading to greater success for them and our community. One of the most important steps in retraining Moline to its former self is making the graduation requirements what they once were, 23. At this time, Moline High School has the lowest graduation credit requirements in the Quad City area, and one of the lowest in LUDA, which includes the other larger districts of our state. We should be a school and a district that has high expectations for our students, not the lowest. I am proud to be a teacher at Moline High School, and I am also a proud parent of 3 MHS graduates, with 2 more in upcoming years. My children were fortunate enough to be able to take the full 7 periods, but they only represent half of the students. The other half are put into study halls where they are bored and receiving 0 credit, which leads to a lack of school spirit and just enjoyment of education in general. All of our students deserve the same opportunities, and we are now able to make the necessary steps to make that a reality. We have started the conversations with administration, and I believe returning MHS to a full 7-period day with a graduation requirement of 23 is a priority for both administration and the MEA. And hopefully with this background knowledge, it will be with all of you as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Agenda. Consent agenda, so we're gonna do full item C. So. It's to So the recommended motion is that the Board of Education approve the actions contained in consent agenda items A, B, and D through T as presented. Discussion? Roll call.
Ramona Dixon,
Yes.
Jason Farrell, Lindsay Hines,
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Jessica Smith.
Aye.
Andrew Ware.
Aye. Recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the action contained in consent agenda item C as presented. Discussion? Roll call.
Jason Farrell, Lindsay Hines.
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson,
Abstain.
Jessica Smith.
Aye.
Ramona Dixon,
Yes.
Andrew Ware.
Aye. Now we're going to do our policy, there's some policy. I guess so. In the cheat sheet, and our language if we need it. Not there. All right, approval of updated board policies for section 2, Board of Education. Recommended motion that the Board of Education accept for the first reading the revised Board of Education policy 270, vacancies on the school board filling vacancies. 2125, board member compensation expenses, and 2160, board attorney as presented.
I would like to waive the second reading, allow the first reading to stand for both the first and second readings.
Discussion? Roll call.
Lindsay Hines,
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Jessica Smith.
Aye.
Ramona Dixon,
Aye.
Jason Farrell. Andrew Ware.
Aye. All right, next is approval of updated board policies for section 5 personnel. Recommended motion that the Board of Education accepts for the first reading revised Board of Education policy for personnel section 5-130, responsibilities concerning internal information. 5-180, temporary illness or temporary impasse. 5-200, terms and conditions of employment and dismissal. 5-285, drug and alcohol testing for school bus and commercial vehicle drivers. And 5-310, compensatory time off as presented.
I would like to waive the second reading and allow the first reading to stand for both the first and the second reading.
So moved.
Thank you.
Discussion? Roll call.
Aaron Waldron Smith,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Jessica Smith.
Aye.
Ramona Dixon.
Aye.
Jason Farrell. Lindsay Hines.
Aye.
Andrew Ware.
Aye. Okay, approval of updated board policies for section 6, instruction. Recommended motion that the Board of Education accept for the first reading the revised Board of Education policies. Assignment programs for students at risk for academic failure and or dropping out of school and graduation incentive programs. 6-140 education of homeless children, 6-150 home and hospital instruction, and 6-0 library media program as presented.
I'd like to waive the second reading and allow the first reading to stand for both the first and second reading. So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Just a quick discussion, right, what Susie just presented on what we talked about earlier this year with the after school piece for Moline High School where they're gaining credits. Can we get an update on that, because it kind of pertains to this policy, while we're gonna approve the policy just update that's what we're doing for students that are at risk.
Are you talking about the renewal of the 21st century grant for academic recovery?
Sort of kind of, last year we talked about the credit recovery at piece and how the kids were recovering credits at rate that like satisfied with, so maybe like a contract to graduation, update the report for that particular program that makes sense.
Oh, thank you, okay, clear, okay, thank you. Yes,
Sorry.
no, you're good,
Thanks for.
yes.
Okay, Roll call please.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Chad Smith.
Aye.
Ramona Dixon.
Aye.
Jason Farrell. Lindsay Hines.
Aye.
Aaron Walter Smith.
Aye.
Andrew Ware.
Aye. Approval of updated board policy 7170 vandalism. Recommended motion that the Board of Education accept for the first reading the revised Board of Education policy 7170 vandalism.
I would like to waive the second reading and allow the first reading to stand for both the first and second reading. Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Chad Smith.
Aye.
Ramona Dixon.
Aye.
Jason Farrell.
Aye.
Lindsay Hines.
Aye.
Aaron Walter Smith.
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Andrew Ware.
Aye. Approval of memorandum of understanding regional office of education. Recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding between the Rock Island County Regional Office of Education number 49, Gardner Middle School, and the Million School District number 40 for the Lights Off for Learning Program.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Call please.
Ramona Dixon.
Aye.
Jason Farrell.
Aye.
Lindsay Hines.
Aye.
Aaron Walter Smith.
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Chad Smith.
Aye.
Andrew Ware.
Approval of memorandum of understanding in regional office of education. Recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding between the Rock Island County Regional Office of Education number 49, Wilson Middle School, and the Million School District number 40 for the Lights Off for Learning Program.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Jason Farrell.
Aye.
Lindsay Hines.
Aye.
Aaron Walter Smith.
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Chad Smith.
Aye.
Ramona Dixon.
Aye.
Andrew Ware.
Aye. One more. All right. Approval of memorandum of understanding with regional office of education. Recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding between the Rock Island County Regional Office of Education number 49 and the one in high school and the one school district number 30 for the Lights Off for Learning Program.
Second.
Discussion?
Second.
Yes.
Roll call please.
Lindsay Hines.
Aye.
Aaron Walter Smith.
Aye.
Audrey Adamson. Chad Smith.
Aye.
Ramona Dixon.
Aye.
Jason Farrell. Andrew Ware.
Aye. All right, approval of memorandum of understanding with Luther College. Recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding between Luther College and the Municipal Valley School District number 40.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a quick question. Do we have a standard that we follow to whether or not we're going to enter with the for student teaching? Or like a formula that we follow?
I didn't jump into that. I don't know that there's a formula. We receive an offer from regional institutions and we want to partner with as many institutions as we can in our drive and desire to fill all of our teacher positions. So I know we look for certain
Yeah,
requirements.
we do regionally, and so we've always done things locally. Once in a while, we might get something because of the program certification that might not be necessarily regional, and in those cases, we always look for.
Okay.
That's what you.
Yes, that was.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, anything else? Roll call please.
Aaron Walter Smith,
Hi.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Chad Smith.
Aye.
Ramona Dixon.
Aye.
Jason Farrell. Lindsay Hines.
Aye.
Andrew Ware.
Reports, requests, or open discussion, Dr. Sutton?
Okay, a couple of things. You've got a variety of handouts in front of you, just so you can see. I'd like to first just kind of briefly talk about some of the exciting initial analysis that we have done with the results from the Illinois 5 Essential Survey. So this particular handout, I was able to grab our district view for the last several years. And I'm really proud of our students, our teachers, our staff, and our administration and our community for the growth and positive improvement that we are seeing. In 2024, you can see this is our latest survey administration. and we have received so much growth and received strong ratings in the areas in 3 out of the 5 Illinois 5 essentials. The 2 that are still in neutral status, ambitious instruction and supportive environment, we very narrowly missed. So as you can imagine, you're going to hit them really, really hard this year. So with effective leadership, collaborative teachers, and involved families all received a strong rating. And of course, the research out of the University of Chicago indicates that districts that are strong in 3 or more of the Illinois 5 essentials are absolutely poised for strong district improvement. So I'm glad to see that movement and that improvement post-pandemic. We missed ambitious instruction by only 3 points, and we missed supportive environment by 5. So you'll see a lot of our play schools that we're going to roll out really focused on those areas. Couple of other highlights. The state average for parent response rate is 18.8%. And huge shout out to our principals who got very creative and I'll say competitive that drove up our district average parent response rate to just under 50%. A couple of years ago, we actually had a pay school for 50%, and I'm not gonna lie, we kind of got laughed out of the room. And it was just kind of like a wild goal that I didn't know, and we came really close this year. So huge shout out to our district leaders and our teachers and our school leaders and kids and everything that everybody did to rally around getting this feedback. The more participation that we get, the more input we have and knowing and pointing us at how we need to improve our schools. And you can see the range of response there as well. Same thing with teacher participation. The state average is 76.7%, and we came in at 92%. We're so proud of that. And student participation also above the state average at almost 94%. And just a couple of other highlights, 8 out of our schools increased their parent participation by over 10%, including all 3 secondary schools. And for the first time ever, Moline High School hit the 20% requirement to get the full district report. So, I mean, it's a nerdy thing to be excited about, but I'm so proud of the high school. I'm proud of the administration and the parents and the communication. The older kids get, the more we and parents want to sort of defer that responsibility onto kids. It's sort of a natural release onto the students. So to see that level of support and parents being willing to just take that 5-minute survey to give us some input was so widely and proudly received. And so all of our metrics were above the state average, and this is just an initial analysis, but really proud of this work. Shout out to Dr. Pribble, Stephen Etheridge, and Lindsay Oswald who presented these results. We're invited to present these results at the Mountain School Conference in June. That's where we were at the June board meeting while we were remote. So we're just excited about this and to see real positive growth on paper. Our district has just got great things to come, and we're excited to just sort of share those highlights. Another cool program opportunity, another flyer that you have is a new program that we are getting ready to launch, Teen Mental Health First Aid. As a continuation of the great work we began last year in training our educators in groups at a time in youth mental health first aid. We still have a long ways to go. We've had some counselors and administrators take the lead on this, and we're just able to do a small group of teachers at a time. We're really excited that we plan to take that next level and launch a new layer of mental health supports through a new student program called Teen Mental Health First Aid. This is a nationally recognized program. And Ms. Teresa Sanders and I are in the process of going through the training. So she and I are going to launch this pilot program over the next school year to approximately 125 high school students. And we're looking at doing, it's a 5-session program. And we're looking at doing this after school on one of our early out school improvement days and kind of marry it with the superintendent advisory council that we were working with last year as well. Just to pilot this and see how it works and see how receptive the kids are. So we hope to finish the training in September and maybe advertise it to kids in late fall and start in January. So just a new program. We're exploring all options to provide as much support and not only equip our adults, but equip our kids to be able to recognize signs in themselves and others so that they can help be a conduit for support. A couple of upcoming dates. Registration is this week. It's Thursday at the PE Center. Shout out to Matt and Cabinet and Extended Cabinet for all the work that they have done in planning this. Of course, all of our returning students have the ability to register online, but this is an opportunity for our new families, new kinder students, and families that might need to re-verify address. That event is happening this Thursday. It's a one-day event, a full-day event. And we also have the police department, I believe, giving haircuts and giving out school supplies. So it's just going to be a great opportunity to get kids excited about school. Hires, we have continued to be blessed and to be insulated from the national teacher shortage. And I believe all but one, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Gite, of our certified teaching positions are filled. We're so happy and so proud. Big shout out to HR, shout out to our administrators who are able to find great people to fill those positions. And that one we actually just decided to repurpose. So it's only been live for maybe a week or so. So that puts us in a really good position to make sure that we have a qualified certified teacher for all of our kids. Backpack nights are in August, coming fast. I think you have a schedule there. It's impossible to get to them all when they're at the same time, but I know some of you like to know and try to hit a couple, so I wanted to make sure that you have that schedule. Institute Day is also fast approaching. Our All-Staff Institute Day will be August 15th. Our guest keynote speaker will be Dr. Manny Scott. Dr. Scott was one of the original Freedom Riders whose story was told in the movie Freedom Riders. They'll be sure to inspire, and you as Board of Education members are always welcome to attend as well. And then the first day of school is the very next day on Friday, August 16th. That's right, we start school on Friday here in Moline, so we can gradually build up our stamina, right? And with that, my last piece is just to quickly introduce to you the draft of our strategic goals for this school year. And I believe you also have a handout as well. From our end, these goals are something that I would say multiple meetings, probably 15 hours or so, a really long time mulling over every single word of these goals. Again, probably to a nerdy point, but we want to make sure that we take everything into account. So I'd like to quickly introduce the goals to you and remind you of our process and let you know that we'll give it a maybe a at least a week opportunity. If you see something or have a question or a suggestion, I'd like to open it up for a week for input for Board of Education, so we can get that last opportunity before we launch these to our stakeholders in early August. So with that, I just would like to go through these goals. Oops, can you go back one more, Craig? Sorry. As a reminder, we have a collaborative goal setting process. We took into account the brainstorming from our Board of Education meeting in May. We analyzed last year's strategic PACE goals and string along work that needs to be continued. We analyzed district performance data, collect input from our administrators, feedback from staff, parents, and students, in particular through the Illinois 5 Essentials results. And all of our goal categories are organically aligned to the 5 Essentials. So collaborative teachers and staff naturally aligns with people. Ambitious instruction naturally aligns with achievement. Involve families and community, certainly community, and supportive environments, certainly environment. So we have 2 people goals, and keep in mind, once our goals are complete the year before, they don't go away. The work does not disappear. That really just indicates that the work has now become a part of our standard operating procedure. So once it comes off the poster, so to speak, it's a part of our standard process every single year moving forward. So our 2 people goals: increase targeted professional development offerings by a minimum of 4 for specific paraprofessional groups who provide intensive instructional support to students, including underperforming learner groups, as indicated on the Illinois School Report Card. So we know that our teachers are afforded a lot of professional development. They are experts in their field and in instructional strategy. And we recognized an opportunity to provide more strategies and more training to our paraeducators who also spend a significant time with students to really triangulate that support to improve the achievement of those students. Second people goal, to renew the district's vision, mission, and value statements through a collaborative process involving internal and external stakeholder input. It's time. It's been a while, and it's time to revisit that. I think this was something that we wanted to tackle in what would have been my year one, and then this thing called COVID happened, and it got pushed to the back burner. So we are ready to focus on that work again. Achievement goals. We're taking a big bite. We are taking a big bite when it comes to achievement. We want to leave no stone unturned and work really, really hard for these goal focus areas. First one, identify specific 3 through 8 students in underperforming groups per the Illinois Assessment of Readiness and Reading, and increase the number of those students performing at a level 1 or 2 to a level 3 or 4 by 10%. Very specific, very targeted, focused on literacy. Next one, utilizing the new Illinois Comprehensive Literacy Plan, which was rolled out in the spring. We have not yet received the rubrics or any additional guidance. We know that that will be forthcoming. Assess and revise the K-12 instructional guidance for English language arts in alignment with the Illinois priority standards and focus skills. So the plan, the statewide plan has been rolled out, and now this year we'll be sort of analyzing and assessing where we are at in accordance to those rubrics. Next one, improve the ambitious instruction metric on the Illinois 5 Essentials from neutral to strong, especially in the areas of student discussion and academic personalism, which is direct student feedback from the survey. Incorporating the Center for Model Schools rigor rubric first semester and the student engagement rubric second semester to enhance our quality of feedback to teachers. And the fourth and final achievement goal, increase the opportunities for students to access accelerated coursework at the middle school level by creating an additional pathway for gifted learning. So again, this is a direct result of student feedback from the academic personalism criterion in the Illinois 5 Essentials. We know that we've got a couple of onboarding ramps for gifted learning, but we have realized that there could be an opportunity for more. So students have a chance at multiple pathways for a gifted learning, coursework path. And so that's something that we want to tackle this year. Community goals. Reduce the rate of student chronic absenteeism by 10% per the Illinois School Report Card through the implementation of a new district-wide attendance campaign. Chronic absenteeism is a national problem that in most states is probably the last metric that is not recovered from the pandemic. And we know that the district only has a certain amount of control. But we want to do everything that we can and try to determine, we might not be able to control it all, but what more can we do to enhance and incentivize student opportunities to get to school every single day? Coordinate and offer a multi-session district-wide Family Achievement Academy for parents to promote increased involvement, student academic success, improved attendance, and sense of belonging to school for the purpose of improved academic performance in reading and math on the Illinois Assessment of Readiness. Again, we really want to focus on our report card scores and our underperforming student groups, that we want to do something different in hopes of improving those results and not just keep doing the same types of interventions that we typically do. We want to think outside the box and expand our level of support. And lastly, for environmental. Improve the supportive environment metric on the Illinois 5 Essentials survey from neutral to strong by aligning the district behavior management system with consistency and fidelity for grades K through 8, including aligned dojo skills, behavior matrices, communication protocols, staff training, intentional instruction, and appropriate reinforcements. And the final goal for environment, further develop the Moline-Co Valley portraits of an educator and portraits of a graduate by creating a student-led educator recognition system for exemplary demonstration of educator competencies, and by creating student micro-credentials for exemplary demonstration of the graduate competencies. So we might be nuts, but we really wanted to hit this hard and try to continue this track that we are on in real serious positive results. Last thing. Oh, there's just the document as you have in front of you. And then last slide. We have learned that what we focus on gets accomplished. What ends up on the poster gets done. And it's a pretty amazing process that we have found ourselves. We have a user-friendly and transparent process for strategic goal setting. The goals are communicated to all staff and integrated into our schools. The district extended cabinet meets monthly to monitor and provide updates regarding teams involved, goal targets, and timelines. In the spring, as you know, we hold ourselves accountable to our stakeholders and the Board of Education through a transparent goal closeout process. After that, we jump right into thinking ahead to next year's goal focus areas, and the district and school improvement process is productive and guiding us towards reaching our true potential. So that is what we came up with. Lots to think about. Any initial questions or?
I have a quick question. Brian, what literacy program are we currently using?
For elementary,
For elementary.
yeah, we use ID, which is a SABS product. They adopted it.
I feel like it's
So we've got supplemental material. We've got Haggerty coming in this year, which
Say Haggerty.
yeah, Haggerty.
We're due for a study this year.
We've got 2 years left on this contract, but we've already accelerated. Like we're planning on already looking ahead to see, because we've had to supplement some resources for some basic focus skills, those primary skills that we know weren't strong in the curriculum. So we've made a lot of progress, but we definitely are gonna, as you can see, we're gonna focus on our literacy in a big way.
One question is, I know that when we do the closeout, we have a tendency, some things are not yet ready to be closed out to do our closeout. And a lot of these are dependent on some, pretty finite sort of results and surveys. I guess, in terms of sort of ongoing evaluation of those things, or getting a general sense of how things are going, even though we don't have the final metrics through these structured things, how maybe that can happen for forward in the community to kind of know that how we move along.
I like that, that's a great suggestion. And going along with that, I know we talked a little bit about the good things, so thank you guys for putting measurable goals. Here, I know last time we talked about a lot of them. More of those goals that can't really touch and feel.
Right, we're qualitative.
I feel like we can actually close out on them, but if you're in the setting, it's day-to-day. So to go along with that, it might be beneficial for like the language, some of the language that is embedded in here, like the discussions in academic personalism, like defining that language, so giving us operational definitions.
Yes.
So that when we are looking to close things out, we know. And just for example, one of the recent opportunities for students who access accelerated coursework, giving us a baseline of where we are, what opportunities are there, so we know that when 2 more are added, we hit our mark. We can just kind of go along.
That's great feedback. Thank you. You're exactly right. We definitely were more intentional about making sure the way our goals were measured. And so appreciated that feedback. That definitely helped us, I think, guide our thinking a little bit. I like the idea of sort of benchmarking updates. And a lot of that language, like the definition of academic personalism, is very clearly defined in 5 Essentials. So I think that's a great suggestion to provide that to you moving forward. So this will be our work for the year, but we'll be able to bring some of those updates to you as the year progresses, so you can feel more informed and understand about progress.
Thank you for all this. How do we roll this out so the public does?
The first thing we do is we will launch our final results to principals on August 9th. We roll them out sort of officially to all staff in our first Institute Day. We have giant posters that go to every building. They get updated on our website. And sometimes we send them out via remind to families. Sometimes we put them in our newsletter. So we try to incorporate ways for families to be aware as well, but they're always on our website.
Is there a way to, I know that some schools like send out folders and things at the very beginning of the year at backpack night, something like this could be put in. And I know this would be a lot of work, but if you're not in the education field, this is incredibly overwhelming language. Is there any way to give like a cheat sheet or bullet points, and I guess I would say public language, because like you were saying, someone who doesn't have any background in this is not gonna know what some of this means.
That's a good suggestion. We tried really hard to use no acronyms. So we tried to spell everything out very strategically so it would fit on one piece of paper, hence the super wide mark.
No, I just meant if we were handing it out to
Yeah.
parents, it could be a little more user friendly in what we're saying.
Yeah.
I think this, I didn't know what I wasn't my background, I would look at this and be like, oh.
Yeah, we can definitely work on that. That's great feedback. This is our accountability to our taxpayers to show them how hard we want to work, what we want to tackle, and the results that we want to get for kids. But I think that's a great suggestion, to find new creative ways to inform and educate parents on the work that we're doing, and in a way that they can understand. So thank you for that suggestion.
I just look at, like, Andy and I were talking about this with you a little bit during the agenda, we're just doing so many amazing things and goals that we've met, and I just would like the public to know that. I feel like that our achievements are getting lost. And I'm not trying to add your pace goals, but you know, I'm looking.
It's not going to fit on the paper.
Right, I'm glad our essential surveys and knowing what's going on, and like, kind of make sure we're telling everyone how well we're doing.
I think there's some real opportunities to do that, so I'm going to get to the table and we'll think of some good ideas. I know we've had a lot of parent engagement on the times that we have opened up a Zoom meeting, certainly in person, certainly at Parent University, certainly more media on our state of the district. We haven't done a whole lot of that, but there's a lot of great things for us to think about, so thank you for that.
We have a ton of great things going on. So when you look at these essential data, like what this tells me as an education person is that like people feel welcome. They feel welcome in terms like they know that they can voice their opinion. Welcome was safe enough to voice their opinion to us, and that is amazing. If we can show people what we're doing, they will feel more welcome. So I mean, there's just the amazing things going on. I mean, we have Susie's here as a teacher telling us that she wants more like rigor. These our kids can do more, and she knows these kids can do more, and that is amazing. It's so awesome.
We're very energized.
Yeah,
We're very
and all the pieces here they're here. We're doing
Yes.
the work, and I think Aaron hit the nail on it. Talked about this before. The community knows, but do they need to know even more how great things are going.
Thank you, great feedback. Please, I know it's a lot, but please, if you notice anything or have a suggestion, we mulled over every single word about what this word meant, what that word meant, and how it conveys a message. But we have probably until the end of the month, so another week and a half before we will start to take these to print. So please, if you notice anything or have a suggestion or something we haven't thought of, I wanted to get them in front of you now so that we had a little bit of time for a review process. But with that, we've provided a lot of really great feedback, so thank you so much.
I think board members think about like how we can How we can share these goals and how we can share the message. We can circle back.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a parent, for a minute, it's only a single parent, and I just say that, and that's enough, I know that we, relative to the finance department, like knowing more about what boards do, like really know, like she's in the accounting department, getting the work, she's sat in meetings, and that's one of those things when I don't think our public knows what an amazing collaboration is going on. I want to thank everybody who has helped that forward, because as a parent and a community member, I was really impressed with the diligence.
And I think this is where that communication of us, getting the word out to other parents who might not be as fortunate as us to know and be able to access those things. But we need to get the word to them. And so how do other students in high school and parents know to push their kids towards entering these opportunities, especially with the district rolling out opportunities on that gifted accelerated pathway, if you would otherwise have. So I do agree with those sentiments of us needing to be about peace and time. The messaging on what opportunities the district has and is expanding on.
I think it's a very important piece of what we do here is communicating to our people in our community. All people. So it's very.
I got it. Oh,
No, Chet, please.
I was just saying, we had a discussion a couple months ago about like improving the actual look of some of our schools, and I drive past Franklin 2 to 10 times a day, depending on my day. And they're doing the mural facing 53rd Street, and it's been really neat to see it come together. You know, they've got kind of the outlines of Island, Illinois, the river on there. They're using the Franklin colors. They've got books that are going up on the side of the building. It's a really neat looking thing. It's been amazing to see how quickly they've been able to do it. It was a white wall a week and a half ago. And it looks like they're close to done. I'm sure there's a lot of detail work, but it's a really cool thing. It's neat to see. It's, a very visible wall. It's been that where, it's been that way since they knocked the house down in the corner 25 years ago. So to have that out there, it's a road that a lot of people take, especially just in my neighborhood, just in general. So seeing that and recognizing that just those little things kind of make people be like, hey, that's pretty neat that's on that school. That school that we all know is beautiful on the inside. But it's kind of just looked on the outside looked like a 60, 70-year-old school, whatever it is. So just being able to drive by and see that every day is really neat. It's quite an undertaking. They're not scaffolds out there and they're all over, but I don't know how they're doing it. They aren't tracing anything. I can see a protection on the walls, but they're just making it work. It's really neat. So
Definitely pass that on to Grant Putnam, principal at Franklin. It is all him. All him. So he will love to hear that. Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm not trying to move that one, but like, it's so important that we get that out there. Someone asked me last week, Roland's almost gone, Amy went through. Would you go back and send your kids again? And I go, I'm sure you know, Owen Susie. And I said, absolutely, yes. Yeah, and I'm like, I would send my kids back through this school system without blinking. And they asked me, did they get a good education? And I'm like, yes.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm sorry, like our website, if we could do something like, the Wyoming, our successes, all in one nice place, instead of a little bit here, a little bit there, we are great. And if we could make it easier for, if you're thinking of moving to our community, of seeing what Moline School District is doing, because people look at that when they want to move to this area. And we have so much to offer. I think it'd be really neat to see like our successes, what we've done. Great.
I definitely think that's work that can be rolled into the people goal of the mission and vision and values. I think as we look to enhance our branding and our marketing and our successes, as you guys are putting it, that's an opportunity to embed that work in.
That kind of leads me to another thing that I want to talk about. You know, bowling is amazing and we love it, but it hurts really much when we lose our kids, right? So I want to take a moment to recognize tragic loss of Elijah Sells, our son. He was an amazing first grade kid at Logan Elementary. Devastating loss of life as a result of a car accident. Really kind of left us all. So, you know, our students are our community's most precious asset we have here. So I wanted to let everybody know that the district did put our sympathy protocol in place. Or send flowers on our behalf. So I just wanted to say something about that and recognize Elijah this meeting. But know that Tom Ferguson know and the folks at Logan that they're in our thoughts and our prayers. If we could take a moment of silence, Elijah. Thank you guys. Really hold Logan. All right, with that, sorry, I would like to bring up Lori Grant. She's with the Illinois Association of School Boards. We're going to kind of do some training for the school board, kind of expectations and the board. We should have done this a while ago, but things kind of got in the way, and Lori is here now, and thank you for coming, Lori. We appreciate it.
Thank you, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been, I looked it up, it's been several years. But that's, I'm glad we're here now. And hi, everyone. My name is Lori Grant. I am Associate Executive Director of Outreach, Training, and Events. I am not your Director of Outreach and Training. Her name is Katie Bulova. You may have seen an email about her. She has replaced Retha Owen, if you recognize that name. Retha retired in May, kind of suddenly, So anyway, I've stepped in, and when Katie's is with another district tonight, and they said, Moline, I said, please let me, please let me. Because I have a niece and a nephew who graduated from Moline High School and had nothing but the most amazing things to say about this district, so much that my niece didn't want to come back and teach anywhere but here, and she is teaching here now, along with my sister-in-law. So Lacey and Logan are their names, McMillions, just so you know. And yes, and I'm like, please let me come talk to the board. I know these people. Well, I don't, well, now I know you. So it's been a pleasure to hear your meeting and to hear these extraordinary goals. Wow, is that all by the end of 2025?
We're hoping for April.
Woo, you go. All right. So the reason I'm here tonight, though, is to just talk about the role of the school board, your roles, review of your responsibilities, your job description as a school board member, and just answer any questions and give any support that we can. Our organization, ASB, any guesses how long we've been around? Who knows? Illinois Association of School Boards, how long have we been around in Illinois? No guesses? That's a good guess.
What was your guess? 85 years.
112. 112 years. Yeah, so we've been around. We've been around for a bit, long enough that we've watched a lot of school boards and school districts and the work that they do. We have 850 school districts in Illinois, and we've seen what goes really, really great and what goes not so great. And very, very, very commonly, it's the school board that is the connector there. High functioning school boards result in high functioning school districts. So the fact that you've invited us in today to do this training, we are grateful and thankful for the work you do. And that's where I want to start as a thank you. Many people don't understand or realize that our school board members are volunteers. You don't get paid for this job. Some people think you do, but you do not. I know you don't. So we have to start with a thank you. Here you are. It looked like you just had a meeting a week ago, and then another week or two prior to that. And some of you have been on this board for quite some time. Some of you are newer, I see as well. But regardless, it's a lot of time because you care. So I have to start with a thank you. And I did a little bit of research, and here's why. That thank you is so important. 7,300 students, tell me if I have any of this wrong, but 7,300 kiddos. Over 60 languages in this unit district. Wow, that's a lot. 1,100 employees. So think about that. Between the students and employees, we're at 8,400 families impacted, right? 15 buildings. Now, I used to be a corporate trainer in between being a teacher and this job, and I can tell you in the corporate world, your superintendent, if we looked at this, would be a CEO of a very, very large company, right? You are a large unit district. That's a lot of people, and that's a lot of buildings. And not to mention, I don't know if this was right, a pretty darn big budget, right? We're pushing a $100 million budget. And here's the best part. All of this is governed by 7 volunteers. Isn't that amazing? Democracy, right? 7 elected volunteers. It's just crazy to me when I think about it. But really, it's this team of 8 with this extraordinary superintendent you have here with pushing those goals. Woo! Good luck stopping her, I can tell right now. And here you all are. And when I looked up and I saw that you had 2 student board members, I'm like, yes, because this is what we are putting our focus on. We're adding that focus to encourage student voice at the board table. So thrilled that you have student board members. And so I had to change it to 9 volunteers. But this team here, the way the board and the superintendent interact and work together, it's crucial. School districts where that team of 8, or in your case, team of 10, when the kiddos are here, it's everything. It's the only reason school districts exist for student outcomes, period. It's the only reason you're here. It's the only reason any of us are here. Student outcomes. I love that in listening to your meeting, so much of it was focused on that, on student outcomes, instead of all that other stuff, the stuff that gets in the way. And you're letting your thought leader do that work. So anyway, I had to start with a thank you and tell you about this folder that we gave you to start. I promise you I'm not going to talk about everything in this folder. This is a lot of resources in here for you. There's an agenda that I'm going to move very quickly through. But in the back on the right-hand side of your folder is this book called School Board Governance Resource Materials. And this is just a whole bunch of resources that we would love for you to just refer to that are resources for good governance. Good governing school boards do these things. And the very first thing in this book on page 5 is the foundational principles of effective governance, which, and there are 6 of them, and that's what I'm going to review today, is just these principles that we, over those 110 years at IASB, landed on, that we saw school boards do really, really great. And the school boards that did these 6 things really well had really effective school districts. So that first piece, the foundational principles, it is our guiding principles. And so I'm going to walk through them. When I get done with each principle, talking about some content, I would love to, I'm going to stop and say, how you doing here, board? Give me feedback, have a quick discussion, and we'll pop through it that way. All right? Yes, sir.
Before we dive into this, I want to point out because I was going to do this and I made a note that normally this is done in closed session.
That's correct.
But we had talked about it, and I talked to a couple of you, and yep. We felt that it's important for us to do it in open session, so the public has a chance to see, the work of it. We could have done it closed, but again, like there's a level of trust we have with our community. That, we wanna keep that open dialogue with the community. Know that we're not hiding anything, we're trying to improve. And this is a, evolving thing, we are improving and.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, that's correct. Most times it's in closed session, but I love that you're doing it in open. Because one of the things that we learned through COVID is that the community doesn't necessarily understand what the role of the school board is. And I'm so happy that this is in open session. So the more that hear it, the better, because we want to encourage school board members in the future, right? We want to encourage this continuity of leadership when all of you decide that, you know what, time for me to pass the torch. It's great to have this education. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. So the first principle, number one, is the board clarifies the district purpose. And like I said, I'm so happy I got to hear this goals discussion because this piece of it, the purpose, direction, the priorities, you've got your priorities set for the year, the desired outcomes, you are the ends. So former teacher here, backwards by design, here's the ends. This is where we want to get. How are we going to get here? That's the means, right? You as the board, you're the ends. High level. You determine who gets what benefit and for how much, that 95 million plus budget. Through your vote, yay or nay, based on the recommendation of the superintendent and the staff, you determine who gets that money. So really huge responsibility, but also as part of that, as I said, you are the ends. So you're the governing body. You govern the school district. Superintendent is the means. Superintendent manages. Governing body, management. Governs the district, manage the district. You say who and what and how much with all that budget, but it is, and that's the direction you give to the superintendent, who determines how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, which staff is going to make it happen, right? Management. You decide by being an elected official by voting at a meeting. All these votes you took tonight, you have to legally to allow this stuff to go forward, right? That's why it's so important. Your attendance is so important. That's why there's 7 on a board, not 6, because sometimes votes do go 4-3. But the important part of that is by deciding by voting at a convened meeting, that's the direction that you're giving to your superintendent, who, based on her recommendation, based on all the vetting from the staff, your vote says, go forth, conquer, superintendent, you go implement the work now. And you as the ends, you identify those expectations and intended results. I already heard discussions about that. You said it, I heard it, and I will get to this later, but things that get monitored are the things that get done. Right? Things that you're looking at on the wall, you said it, it gets done. So, but that's up to you to make sure that happens. And then, of course, your superintendent leads the staff to improve performance. So board work and the superintendent is the means, high level, the vision you want. And you also talked about your mission, your vision, your core values. That's you as well. That goes with this number 1. Our big piece of our goal setting session that we do with boards is this work. And it can take a solid half day to land on one sentence mission. It's quite the process, but so important because it is what you are telling your district. This is what we expect of our children when they graduate from this high school. And this is what we expect from our staff to make sure these children get this done to graduate from this high school. That mission, that vision, those core values, the fact that you're gonna have that discussion, that's a hugely important piece of the board's work as well. Okay, so how you doing here in number one, board work versus superintendent, ends versus means?
I think we do that well.
Yeah, I think that's one of our strong
Points.
points is that. Well, super.
I guess
Yes.
it's a really good relationship.
All the time.
Right, it's hard, but.
I think we do enough trusting experts, like we know that we are not the educational experts, we are.
They're over there.
Exactly, so we hopefully do our part, but then trust them. Their stuff.
Yeah, they keep us very informed, which is huge, because there, a lot of times, you know, if there's something that we don't understand that's gonna be on the agenda, they're gonna give us the answer that we need to make an informed decision, and you don't have to be concerned that they're not going to. So, it's a really good deal to help us do our jobs. They're more than happy to provide all the information.
Great. Anything else around principle number one? I'm gonna keep going. Number two, I heard a lot of discussion about this at the end. The board connects with the community. This is the most challenging thing that school districts and school boards have. You have 60 languages spoken here in this school district. When you're connecting with the community, the most important thing to remember is it is a two-way conversation. That's engagement. One way is HR, or not HR, sorry, not HR, PR. Public relations, which is so important. I heard a lot of talk about public relations, about how are we going to tell our story? So crucially important to tell your story. But your job as the board is to hear their story. And that's the part that's hard to get past. Engagement is two-way. It's not one way. We could have the most amazing website, the most amazing newsletters, Facebook, Twitter, we just put it out there all the time. That's fantastic and so important. But what information are you getting back? The fact that you almost got 50% in your 5 essentials, ooh, that's huge. That's a lot. It seems like it's not, but that's a lot. That's really good engagement. But don't forget, 50% did not do that. Right? How are you finding ways to reach everybody in your community? And I know that is just a really, really tall task. So it is essential for trust and support. Trust is a really big word for me. Earning trust, the trust of your community, of you, your trust of each other, your trust of your superintendent and staff, superintendent's trust of all of you. This community engagement, the more you can engage, not only information out, but information back, the more you will gain their trust and support when you need it. And then, of course, serving the public good, community engagement. So in your role as a board member, speaking of the community, what's your store of, what produce aisle are you in? Is it Jewel, you guys have Jewel here? Hy-Vee? Is it Hy-Vee? Okay. The Jewel and the Hy-Vee, okay. You're in the produce aisle and a parent comes up to you, board member, and says, I am not happy with my teacher, my student's teacher. What's the first thing you say to them? To that parent, what's your response to them when they say to you, I am not happy with my child's teacher? You talk to the principal, okay? This chain of command, crucially important. The first question you say is, have you spoken to the teacher? Because the teacher is the closest one to the issue, right? Always, hello, have you spoken to the teacher? Are you sure? Not are you sure, don't question it, but have you spoken to the teacher, right? Have you spoken to the teacher? Yes, I've spoken to the teacher, still not happy. Then it goes to principal. Have you spoken to the principal? Yep, spoke to the principal, still not happy. Then that's when it goes here as a board member to the superintendent. It is normal as board members to get engagement from your community, and you want that. You want them to care, right? We want our community members to care, but you have to be very careful about answering and trying to solve the problems yourself as a board member, because That's not your job here. Your job is to share it with the superintendent who can figure it out. Right? So be very mindful of that. And this chain of command is such an important thing to remember when your community is engaging with you. Teacher, principal, superintendent. Now, a lot of large districts have about 7 other steps before it gets to the superintendent. Is this about right for your district, though?
We certainly have cabinet members that represent departments, and so often they will be in the loop first or alongside. So definitely a group effort with all of the cabinet members,
Great.
depending on the issue.
Yeah.
When it comes from like a board member, it goes directly to the superintendent, so she can decide. She wants things.
So when a parent speaks to you, it automatically goes to the superintendent?
No,
Okay.
we'll do the.
The chain of command, teacher,
I
principal.
apparently have just cut out the teacher.
That's why we're here.
Just assume that they talk to the teacher.
Yep, but don't assume. Yep.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
very true. But yeah, usually it's talk to this.
Yeah, right, great. Great. So tell me around community engagement and chain of command, those two things, how are we doing here? Board, superintendent?
I personally think that engaging the community is board could be done better. So I don't feel like, I'm out there like engaging the community. And COVID really hurt us there. We were doing little like coffee talks and things like that. So I think we definitely attempted it. But when you talk about that 2-way street, opportunity for community members to engage back during those things that we did in the conversation.
Yeah, I think you're right. We did really well for community engagement. We just COVID just, we changed education, right? We changed
Right.
everything.
I agree. Right. And I mean, how do we make sure, I mean, I think trying to go up as much as like, we have, I mean, if administrators that show up at a ton of things, in fact, Savage shows up at like, because she shows up like all of the things, but you know what I mean, but how do we do a better job of being out there and representing in a different way, I think is intentional about.
Yeah, I think some of us have had conversations about trying to like, not really assign things to go to, but kind of make it more of a, hey, we really need to make sure that we've got people at all these different things, because more likely, in my opinion, that a community member is gonna come up, one of us, if we're at a district thing and not in the, if they're coming to the grocery store, if they're seeing us and they're like, they're at the point where they're gonna stop us in the middle of our day-to-day lives, then there's probably a big problem, but for the most part, I don't think most people are gonna see us shopping or somewhere and be like, I'm gonna go bug them. But if you're at like, I'm at a football game or a band concert or, just at whatever normal school function, people would be more likely to come up, and they would talk about like adopting schools and getting involved, I think, in some of the schools that we're a part of, getting involved in some of their community events to where we're there, not just for our kids, but for the kids in the district in general, I think would really do well to help kind of make people feel more comfortable and come up and say, hey, I'm really glad you're here. I got this going on, Be there to be more of a sign.
You build that trust, right?
Yeah.
Like, trust is the foundation of what this thing we got going on here at school, it's all about, it's whether it's the community trust that we make the right decision. And being at an event, helps build that trust, they trust that we care. They're there to hear out people, there to welcome everyone. Trust is a big part of that. There's.
The challenging part about for school boards engaging with the community is having the opportunities to do it. There's the obvious ones of school, going to the choir concert, the sporting events, open houses, things like that. But don't forget that a very, very large part of your community that pays tax dollars to this district don't have children in your schools. And that's the other piece we always like to call out, is how are you engaging with those folks? Because they are part of your community as well, even though they aren't paying, they don't have children coming here. So a lot of districts have had this same conversation, and they have had strategic assignments, you know, of adopting a school, but then outwardly having a representative on the Kiwanis and their Rotary. Do you have that going on right now? Your local civic organizations, the retirement center's monthly event. They would love to have a member of the board come and talk to them about, you know, what's happening in the school district to represent. Of course, you need talking points. You know, you would need, you'd have to agree on the things that you're willing to talk about and that you will not talk about. And we're going to talk about agreements here in a bit. But there's a lot of opportunities that, again, you're volunteers. Probably most of you work full time. Just ask you more time. Hey, more time. Go give. That's the hard part. But there's always opportunities to engage.
And I just would add to that. Yeah, I know that I'll come up to you in the grocery store,
I think we will, but you know, it's not typically.
She's got.
I'm just trying to go so.
But in our community volunteerism, I mean, there have been several times that I've been approached, I'm just doing my own thing, but they're approaching me for my, you know, affiliation with the Moline School Board. And, you know, I am sometimes lost for words because we stand on this notion of trust and transparency. And, you know, sometimes you feel like you gotta run it back through Andy and make sure Rachel is okay with it, when it's just a genuine and just collaboration, and that makes people feel more trustworthy. I guess trying to gauge whether it's something that needs to go back, or is it something that a community member wants to just kind of vent and you send them to the right place. Just having those talking points for either situation. So of course, knowing the chain of command is always going to be if the person has an issue, but can we create a space where maybe monthly or quarterly, these are some topics or a repository of places where we had some topics that came up in just general conversation. They weren't anything that were troublesome or noteworthy to you know, push up to the, you know, to Rachel's attention, but there were kind of like looking at side by side with our goals, and hey, parents said this on 5 essentials, but we also ran into, you know, like five out of the 10 parents that said something to a board member this quarter. They also kind of, you know, indicated that this is an issue or this is something that we could, you know, kind of focus on, and that might be, you know, a way we can resolve it. But I do feel like it kind of gets muddy if you know, those engagement opportunities should be tapped into, or should I just kind of leave that alone?
And so going off of what you said, I also think it's important to have some opportunity for people to submit maybe anonymous feedback, or not even feedback, but if they have something. Because I've had several people reach out to me over the last whatever 18 months or I've been on the board about some sensitive things, and they've said, you know, I don't know that I really want you to raise it up. I don't want people to know it was me coming, and maybe not everyone's comfortable public commenting on a board meeting. So maybe an opportunity once or twice a year for some anonymous that collection outside of the 5 essential. I know suggestion.
I think one of the biggest things too that we all need to remember, if we're out there in the community, is coming to us, is that we need to not promise that we're gonna get the answer, we're gonna solve their problem. Because I think that that's something that, and it's a hard thing to explain to a community member, but if people come up and say, I need you to do this, trying to find a way to say, I can point you in the right direction, but I can't solve your problem. And people a lot of times don't want that to be the answer you're gonna give them. And then it's tough to give that answer. I think a lot of times to get, you know what, yeah, I'll take care of it. And you can't say that because that's not our job.
there's a really great book that I highly recommend. It's called The Art of School Boarding. It's by Jim Burgett. Are any of you familiar with it? And he's got a page in there, and it's an acronym. We love acronyms in education. CALM, keep calm. And the A so the C, I wish I had it in front of me. C is for chain of command, right? Chain of command. Okay, ask them. Number one, teacher, principal, superintendent. The A stands for asking about the chain of command. L, listen. Just listen. You don't have to respond. You just have to listen. And the M stands for, now let me make sure I understand you. Okay, and just say what you're going to do next. So you're going to go and you're going to reach out to the teacher, right? Or if it's too level, you're going to say, okay, I will just mention it to the superintendent if you would like me to do that. And then you do it. But it's so important that the work that you said it, you don't want to be the person that is the answer to all their questions, because you're not. And you don't want to be. You don't want to be that person where they just skip everything. And they're like, I'm just going to my neighbor, the board member, because they're going to get it done for me. Well, they got an answer. I'm just going to go right to them from now on, forget about it. So again, we want the community to be engaged. We want them to ask you questions. It's just how you respond that's so important. Thank you.
With that. I was gonna say, you guys are going to the conference this year, and he is giving a panel. I'm not sure if you want that. I was there 2 years ago. And that was it was early on, and learning that part and getting the book and going through that was something you were doing.
Yep, Jim's there every year.
You can certainly get copies if anybody needs.
Yeah, it's definitely worth going. I think it's like an hour in there with them. He's very good.
Yep. And another book, if you're looking at good books, and the title's a little, maybe offensive to some, but How Not to Be a Terrible School Board Member. That's what it's called. But it's really just packed full with real life scenarios. The scenario, how it was handled, and then how it should have been handled. Both from administrators and board members, and it's really, really good. The title, I'm afraid to encourage people to, for superintendents to hand it to their board member, because it's like kind of obnoxious, but it's a great book. It's a great book. Okay.
To way back before COVID, I'm hearing based on that
For some form,
yes, yeah.
Copy and conversation, any of those kinds of things, copy and conversation. Yeah.
We did post.
I was just with the board last week, and they do the superintendent and 2 board members, can't be more than 2 because of Open Meetings Act, right? And they set up a monthly copy conversation. Here, we're gonna meet here, Panera, whatever, this date, this time, come join us. Sometimes there's only 1 person that shows up, sometimes there's 10. So,
Guy here showed up.
and again, I am not trying to make more work for you or your superintendent. I am writing down next steps that I'm hearing from you, though, some ideas that you might want to consider for growth as the year goes on. Okay, I'm going to keep going. The third and the fourth principle are all about your superintendent. That's how important this relationship is. And 2 of the 6 principles are this relationship. So the board employs the superintendent. Congratulations. Well done. You've done it. How long have you been here, actually?
I finished 5 years.
Congrats. That's amazing. This productive relationship, crucial. The board superintendent relationship, understanding of the roles, the responsibilities like we're doing right now. Expectations that you have of your superintendent. Great that there's clear goals. The question is, do those goals of the district align with your superintendent's goals? If you look back in this book here, and you go to page page 10, you see a really nice little stair step page there that says Mission, values, vision, that's the board's job. And then we get to district goals, superintendent's goals. That's the board and the superintendent together. So district goals align with the superintendent's goals, and then that keeps cascading, right? And then you see it goes to the principal, the classroom, the students, that's staff work. So that middle part, those superintendent goals and those district goals, it's very important that your superintendent and you are very clear as to what those are, what the expectations are, and how you're going to monitor them. Speaking with one voice. First of all, how many bosses does your superintendent have? 7? Everybody answer 7? It's how many answer? But really, we like to say 1. Because you speak as one voice, as a board of 7. Have you ever had 7 bosses? I'll tell you what, there's a lot of superintendents that feel like they have 7 bosses, right? It's hard. I've had 2 bosses and I can't even tell you how hard that was. But it's really important that as a board, you speak with one voice. And in that voice, so you're the vote, that's one way that you're speaking, that's your voice to the superintendent. You're giving direction, right, with your vote. Even if that vote is not unified, if it's a 4-3 vote, that it may be a little bit of divided, but maybe the vote didn't go your way, but still it's crucially important that you support the will of the board once the vote has been taken, right? So that's speaking with one voice. If you're giving direction to your superintendent, it is one direction, not 7 different directions. And then making sure you have a job description, evaluation process. So my question to you is next, how is your evaluation process? I guess this is for you too, Rachel. How is it working for you? Are you happy with the tool you're using, et cetera, et cetera?
I am.
Yeah, okay. How about you, board? The whole process.
Major improvement.
Yeah, it's an evolving process, right?
Okay,
We pointed out some there's issues with like benchmarking that we're gonna do and made some tweaks. I think overall it's a process.
We're using super eval.
oh, say no more. That's great. That's great.
We just finished the 2nd year, so
Oh, good.
we're kind of tweaking as
Yeah.
we figure it out, but
Yeah.
it's a manageable suite,
Yes.
I guess I would say.
The beautiful thing about that is you can just keep putting your evidence in there and you all can see it. You can see, you know, it's easier on the president too at the end when you have to collaborate and put it all together. If you take a look at page 43 here, as Rachel was sharing the goals and she was sharing the process, I'm like, oh, that's spot on. Boy, she could just come up here and teach this. So when you look at the annual planning and evaluation cycle, this is another important part of our training for you. And that here we are, we're in July. Okay, superintendent creates the goals, which support the district goals. The board approves the goals. Sounds like that's about to happen very soon after you look at them and all of that. You agree on the indicators of success and additional expectation. Then when we get to next month, those are the goals, you've approved the goals. What resources do you need? That's up to you to make sure that that happens, right? Approving those resources based on the recommendation of your superintendent, based on the recommendation of her staff. You evaluate your own processes in the fall. You're ahead of schedule. Good job. We're doing that right now, okay? Informal mid-year evaluation, November, December, do you do that? Kind of a mid-year?
Well, we were just kind of talking about adding some benchmarking along the way, which is very helpful.
That's great. That's great. And then you can see the rest of the cycle. So really important, the board, the superintendent, you can see the goals and the action plans. It is a partnership. And if you've ever been in a job where you didn't have an evaluation or you didn't know when it was going to happen, you weren't clear on your goals and your expectations, it's real hard to stay in a job like that. It's real hard. You have one employee and she's it. That's it. All of these other employees are the responsibility of your superintendent, but the superintendent is your one employee. So important that You evaluate that employee. You are clear on the expectations. So that's why that's such an important principle of effective governance for the school board. Any questions on number 3? Thoughts, concerns? I'm glad to hear that that process is good. The fourth one, now you've got your superintendent, you've had the superintendent for 5 years, you're delegating authority to the superintendent. And delegating that authority means you are empowering, you're putting your trust in Rachel to do the day-to-day activities. And who's entrusting her staff to do the day-to-day activities. And then your focus is on the big picture. Now, if you've been to conference, if you've done anything with IASB, you've heard stay off the dance floor. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
Right? Stay in the balcony. I'm a former high school music teacher, and I taught for 25 years. I taught a ton of musicals. And when I first got to IASB, and I'm like, stay off the dance floor. Well, duh, yeah, because as a director, when it came time for dress rehearsals in a musical, I would be in the balcony. And I would never be down there. And the reason I was in the balcony is it was the only place that I could see the entire stage. I could hear all the sound, what needed to be tweaked. I could see the lousy lighting that was happening. I could see that dancer over there that had the foot off just a little bit because I was in the balcony and I could see the big picture. When I get up on the dance floor, all I could see are the 3 people that were around me, when maybe the crazy sophomore tenors over in the back were messing around and getting in trouble. It's so important. So that's another way to look at it. The IESB, stay in the balcony off the dance floor. The dance floor is staff work. Balcony is your high level 30,000 view. But if you look at it also that way, if you can picture yourself actually in a balcony, looking at a stage of a giant cast, if you are down that dance floor, you can't see the big picture. You can't see all the great, amazing things that are happening because you're too busy focused on those 2 little people, the neighbors in the backyard saying, or the trustees of the church center or wherever it is. And you just have to remember, you have a very large district you have to worry about. And that balcony view is really, really important. So how are you doing here? How's the balcony view going for this board?
Sometimes you get in your worlds, right? And you sometimes have to take a step back and remind yourself, balcony. Because you hear it from your neighbors. I hear it from mine.
Every single member of this board is a
That's
right now, so that I think definitely what he's saying is that sometimes then, because we do have our own interests related to our own children and stuff like that, so that, I went my first year on the board, I went into one of the, parent hat board hat like sessions.
Yeah.
And especially if you've been really involved, which most of us were, and that's how then you have to figure out how do you still maintain some level of involvement in those sorts of things that allow you to feel like you have that actionable thing that's not related to your board work, but you know what I mean? Like it can be, I think, sometimes hard, and so trying to separate those things. I think it's a constant trying to make sure there's intentionality behind it.
Those things are uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. It's because you care. Because you care. And the board hat, parent hat, trust me, the board hat is always on. Whether you think it is or not, it always is. They're always seeing you as a board. You can walk into a classroom and say, I'm here as a parent. They still know you're a board member. It's just always on. So I guess I'll ask the superintendent, how's your board doing?
I'm grateful. I feel like they're clear on my role and clear on their role. I think that they're all very approachable. I think if there is an issue, we talk it through mutual respect. And I think there's an assumption of positive intent that helps when you get to that solutions table. So I'm grateful for how they conduct themselves and want to work with me to make things right and positive and moving forward because of your very first statement. When we're all functioning, and it doesn't mean it's all rainbows and butterflies, as I always say. It's certainly not. But I do feel that we can come to the table and have a respected conversation, even in difficult times. And that's not for me, and it's not about me. But when we can do that, that's the service that I believe we owe to the taxpayers, and I'm glad to be a part of a team like that.
I think there's a certain expectation when, like, we do bring things to Dr. Savage that she is and you've been very good, especially like separating, like, you know, like when I bring something to Dr. Savage, like I expect her to kind of sift through what is parent concerns and what is like actual board.
It's a challenge.
And I trust her to make that, to sift that through. To, if my concern is really just over parenting, or is it a board concern?
Especially the fact that all of you are parents, every one of you, that's, whoo. Are any of you, are you representing 7 different schools in the district?
High school and Wilson Middle School.
Yeah.
I have elementary, soon to be junior high.
All right, so there's some great representation here. That's wonderful.
I really appreciate what you said there, though, of like the assumption of positive intent, because I think we are all hopefully good about going into any conversations that know what's going to try to make somebody's life more difficult to do anything, but there's generally anything we bring up is only for that, but then being able to be like, oh, and sort those things out. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and Rachel, I hope you feel like we empower you to research the things that we're asking about and kind of manage that internally, so.
I certainly do, because when, 9 times out of 10, when you hear something outrageous, it's easy to get fired up. And that has happened to all of us, and there's outrageous things and, things that you hear happen in the schools or in the community. But I equally appreciate that when you hear something outrageous, you care enough, or there's that mutual respect to not just operate your next move based on that outrageous statement. And 9 times out of 10, there is another piece to the story or a rationale, and you let me tell you whatever that piece is before we together figure out how best to proceed. That is also something I don't take for granted, and know that sometimes when when you hear something really outrageous, it's really easy to just let emotions come and play and fly off the handle and start making moves and decisions based on that statement. But I think you're all really strong in the area of allowing an opportunity to at least find out more behind we might, before figuring out what the next right move is. And that is not lost on me, that we do that. So I appreciate it.
I just seeing this and just watching board meetings around the state and other states of my peers telling me about their experiences. That's like none other. So that open communication, whether it's a quick text message saying, hey, you have to call the ambulance, we don't know any more information right now. You can just look at your cell phone and be reassured, like, I know you're gonna handle the situation, and I know we're gonna have an update at the end of the day. If there's more information that needs to be shared, you're gonna share it. So if and when those stakeholders start, come down the roads out and attack us or ask us, and we hear about X, Y, and Z today, you can be assured just to have that little tidbit of information to say, yes, we know Rachel and her team handled it. And then the other side of that is that confidence that I had as a school board member, the first day you did that orientation with us, to be able to go through the stuff and then to walk away with that mutual respect of no surprises. I feel reassured to pick up my phone and just say, hey, I did talk to a parent today. Hopefully, it's nothing more, but I just want to let you know that I know that parent personally, because that's what I have to do with parents as well, just to, piggyback on what we talked about earlier. say, okay, you have a relationship that you can't just, cut off. But I also have a duty as a board member, so just reminding people that I can't make you any promises, but I will, contact Rachel or, one of the cabinet members and let them know that this is something that's, out there. So I definitely appreciate that trust.
I think a strength that we have, because it's not always sunshine and roses, and sometimes we disagree, but what I think is good, there's always, because I get pretty passionate pretty fast, I'll be the first person to say that, but there's always someone who wants some Rachel that's pretty good at talking off the cliff. Like, it's not like, I think there's a lot of great communication there with that positive intent, where one of us is fired up, Rachel, cabinet member, the board member, is like, okay. Let's calm down. I just think that's a huge plus we have.
And it's really important for all of you to remember, and I often say this around community engagement, is there's always two sides to a story, but really it's usually three, right? There's this side, and the truth, right? Right down the middle. So always keep that perspective. When you do feel yourself getting fired up, be like, wait, there's another side to the story. And go find it. Don't just don't let it lay there. So thank you, great. Anything else around 3 or 4, superintendent evaluation relationship? Excellent. So let's go on to number 5. The board monitors performance. And we talked about the number one reason school districts exist, student outcomes. So monitoring student performance, monitoring these goals, what gets monitored gets done. But also there's this other piece, and that is policy compliance. And I heard it in your agenda today. And there's 6 words that you always have to remember. Is there a policy for that? When someone comes to you in your open comments and they're fired up about something, in your head, you're thinking, is there a policy for that? How can we answer this through policy? Boards must govern through policy. It makes everything easier. Are you pressed plus?
Yes.
Oh, see, you got that. You're in compliance, but you still have to monitor. You still have to look at those policies. Do you know where to find your policies? Sometimes policies won't apply to this district. Local control. Well, this one doesn't, we don't need this one. So just always remembering that that's a part of your job as a board, to monitor your policies as you were. Of course, monitoring performance based on data. And when I saw the goals, such SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound. It makes it a lot easier for you to monitor, a lot easier for the teams that are trying to achieve those goals to monitor. When you've got a deadline set, when you have something very specific that you're trying to attain, instead of magic stuff out of the air. But it is your job. It's a principle. It's one of the 6 principles to monitor that, to ensure it's happening. So how are you feeling around policy compliance, around monitoring goals, district goals, superintendent's goals?
When it comes to policy, we recently went through something where, some policies and procedures needed to be looked at and adjusted, kind of in a big way with, potential litigation and things like that, where it was, all right, what we need to, we kind of want that's what we had done because it kind of went against our procedure and policy. And then, we did our due diligence, got together, made sure that we could at least adjust it to where should something happen in the future, we got it done. But it was one of those things where it's kind of eye-opening that I think at times there was a little complacency. We kind of, and tonight wasn't a really good measure of that. We were, I remember waiting the second read, but
It's okay.
well, we do have I think a little bit better procedure with that now of getting the press stuff so you can go through and say, all right, these are the things that are on our agenda and there are no changes. It was just changes maybe to a footnote because it's been 5 years. So having that available as opposed to just how fast can we get through these, which we had been there.
We had gotten into a pattern, right?
Yeah.
Here in the 9th, been on the board for a while, we kind of got it in there, like,
Right?
let's see if we can get these 8 policies done in 2.5 minutes. But we had an issue and it came up and we kind of took a pause and said, we need to reset some values here to look at policies. And actually see what's going on and ask questions about procedures, you know, so it's about those policies.
Okay,
It was very easy to do, again, we got cabinets that says, all right, you know what? We do need to slow down, we can provide you with more information. You know, obviously, they're gonna send us the agenda report and we're gonna have what is in this policy, and you'll see, you know, underlined, strike through, stuff like that.
Mhm, mhm.
But you can look through there and like, well, wonder how important that is. And then you get that other release, it's like, you know, it was just a verbiage change, it wasn't anything that's gonna actually affect how the policy is implemented or how procedures work. So just having that little bit of extra information and guidance.
Good.
Makes it a lot easier to sit, you know, before a meeting. Alright, you know what, that's a all new policy, and we probably should push that one back, or that is just a change in a footnote to adjust. The date on whatever reference, so having that, especially of late, has been very helpful. And I think that we're doing a good job on there, I think we kind of, I guess it got a little complacent maybe over time, but.
But you've revisited it.
Yeah.
You've gone back, which takes me to this next principle. You've taken responsibility for that. And it is your responsibility when those changes come through, when you get your agenda and you see all the attachments, to read it. Prior to the meeting, to read those policies that you just approved very, very quickly tonight. Take the responsibility for that, because it lands back on you. Well, it's in our policy, you said that we could do this, and if you can't go back and know exactly what they're talking about, that's on the board, right? It's the board's job. So the board takes responsibility for itself. You've taken responsibility for yourself by me being here tonight. We come by invitation only. We aren't ISB. We don't have authority to put the hammer down. We come in with no judgment. We come in and say, here's what we've seen really great boards do. And we have to be invited, and you invited us. So many boards do this every year, and we have several different self-evaluations. And this isn't a plug because well, yeah, it is. It's a plug. We do this every year. And really high-functioning boards bring us in. And we do this one here where we talk about these, and then we do one where it's a survey that goes out to the board in advance and with a rubric, and how are we doing here? Rate yourself and get really serious about it. Are we really based on data? And then we look at that together. And then there's all kinds of other workshops too, but taking that first step, bringing this in tonight, that's huge. So important for continuity of leadership. There's an election coming this spring. How many are up for re-election? Probably at least
I guess
three.
Aaron and I are, we're not.
So your board's going to change over. It's going to change. And we always say, if there's one new board member or a new superintendent, it's a brand new board, because it is. So even more crucial to have these conversations for that continuity and this discussion, so they are clear on the roles of your board. Of course, abiding by the majority, we talked about that, policy driven. And then you mentioned orientation, how grateful you were for the orientation and training. Sounds like you've got a process in place. Is that orientation just with the superintendent, or who is that with?
So
So you have an agenda and.
Cindy and I came on video, it was kind of like a.
Here you go.
By fire hose, right?
Yes. Better experience than we did.
Love it. That's fantastic.
Even that, talked about going through the board policies. I would say our board peers took into consideration that we were new to this
Nice.
and took a step back and looking at some of the policies and protocols. And there were times where you guys were reflecting to say, okay, well, yeah, they weren't on board when we approved this thing, so we might need to educate them. So there were several times that I saw this year, they kind of took that into consideration as well, continuing to orient us as new board members to some things that we need to know moving forward, to be able to do due diligence in our jobs as members.
That's great. keep that in mind in about 8 months when more new board members join, right?
I think that it's important, especially with new people coming in, which we will have, is, you know, once we know who they're gonna be, is kind of reaching out, letting them know maybe some of the pressing issues that we've got going on at the moment. I came in during some pressing moments. And it was an easy process. I was the only person besides those two running, so it was really easy for them to be like, but you're gonna be in. We're gonna bring you up to speed on some of this stuff without, you know, really letting me into any kind of open session information or closed session information, but. You know, just kind of giving me a feedback and backstory, as much info as they could give me that was, you know, as public knowledge as it could be. So you're not walking in on day one, and it's like, oh, we're gonna vote on this very important topic that you've heard a little bit about. So-
And your vote is the same as everybody else's.
And
Yeah.
so, you know, I felt informed enough that first night, and it was a major thing. I felt pretty confident in that, and so, you know, I think that, yeah, it is our responsibility, as much as it is on campus, to kind of bring them up to speed on how the district works. It's our responsibility to kind of let them know where we are, where we're heading, but what kind of things have been going on leading up to their first day is. Yeah, it's. Raise your right hand and now you're gonna vote.
Right.
I mean, I like you brought up word evaluation. Self-evaluation. We haven't done
We
that.
have not done that.
I don't know, does the board think about doing that? Kind of in conjunction with.
I think it's a bad idea, especially with us going out, as like this is where we stand, or. Like the issues, you know, as we're starting with a new board, let's start fresh with the data we have. I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. I think the one thing, you know, we talk about doing at the same time is superintendent evaluation. Is, you know, that next spring. As we're bringing on 2, maybe 3, hopefully not 3 new board members. You bring them in, and it's kind of the same as, you come in as a new board member and you're doing. Evaluation steps, but. So like if it would be like the off election years. Where we did a board evaluation, or we could have something like that in place to say. All right, it's 2026. New people have been around for a while, everybody else has been around, you're not walking in and going. Sure, this is great, I got no idea. So just having that, you know, kind of. In the middle, in between election years. I think would be a really good thing that we should look into doing, it just to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable as a board, and as future boards, they're holding themselves accountable.
I can tell you that many boards. Some have already scheduled them actually. When right after election, those 3 months after that election and the board has turned over, they do this workshop. Because those new board members need to hear this, right? They need to hear this information. And it is great to, if you can get a cadence going, but minimally every other year. But most do it right after an election. Because otherwise you've got new board members are almost going 2 years never having this. So
This is the evaluation.
this is a self-evaluation. Usually, like it's usually in closed session. There's a lot more that we would normally do, and I will share that with you that you guys can do, but this is it. It's training and then a whole lot of discussion about communication expectations and board agreements and all those kinds of things.
I would agree. July, I know, because the time of year, right after board elections, pretty busy, especially saying. With the people,
meeting.
yeah, it may, no, actually, it's the end of April, isn't it? But like this board, for example, is very busy because we all have kids in their districts. So we're doing sports and.
It's also an option. If the board was ever interested in doing more of a retreat style, and it could be during the day. That's an option too. You can certainly respond and react however you would like to do it. But
I definitely do think though that having more stuff like this where, kind of brings us back to the why and the what that we're doing. Maybe that'd be something that we try to push, for future boards, say, start establishing the precedent now. And the process, the procedure, so that it just becomes a normal part of being a board member. As opposed to, I'm 3.5 years in almost, getting this.
Yeah.
So, not that I'm upset, it is something that it's like, yeah, there's.
I think retreat is a good idea, or a Saturday or whatever, because on a Monday night, especially when we're working or whatever, you're like, I wanna go home and eat it. No, you might be a little less willing to dig down on a Monday night than you might be on a Saturday when they give you treats.
We do often say, try not to attach this to a board meeting. So you can have the time to spend and be fresh and, how many of you worked all day today? Yeah. Right, so, yeah, it's hard. We do a lot of Saturdays. Yep, we do a lot of Saturdays.
Rachel does a kind of a workshop. We just did a workshop that helped her to inform this with the
Yeah.
staff. We could probably incorporate that into a work. Just have all of that embedded as a part of the agenda, because we're already looking at goals, strategizing, even the outcomes. At June, we did that in June, or did we do that?
no, focus goal or brainstorming was. We had it in early May, so we could time it out before the principals left and the district leadership that were not 12 months before they left. So it was, I think that first meeting in May. Yes, it was. But certainly, we can think about it, and whatever you would like, we can maybe put out a survey so that you can process and think individually, and we can.
I think stuff like that, if we did or wanted to do it at a time that wasn't the evening meeting, but also respecting not going out to a Saturday for district staff, but then for those of us that work all day during the week, we would need to take time off from work to do that, so we would need to have that pretty well scheduled in advance. So I think if we got into a case of it, then that could go on the calendar early enough where if there's the ability to take vacation time or something to be present at that on the weekday, we need to just be
Maybe work with
intentional about that.
you guys at an agenda review, come up with maybe some questions that we can put out.
Great, I'm hearing a lot of next steps here. I've been writing all these down, and I am going to send some notes and send it all right back to you the next day or two with these next steps, just so you know. But there was one more piece, and I heard you say it, when we decided when our new friends were coming to the board, we needed to do better. And that's nurturing, that's positive, it's an inviting culture. And that I can't begin to tell you how important that is when you're talking to a bunch of volunteers who put in, sometimes depending on what's happening in our world at the time, hello COVID, extraordinary amounts of hours. And sometimes community members not being kind, right? Being yelled at, being sadly. And so this, as long as you have each other's back, that you have this culture of, we're gonna get this work done. That builds trust, whether you know it or not, when you keep showing up, despite all of the terribleness that sometimes can happen. So that, I always end with that. Nurturing, positive, inviting culture is really crucial. So that's it. That's our 6 principles of effective governance. There's a ton more information we can share with you on our website. There's this book, and take a look, everything around community engagement, all of that. But in your folder, and I will tell you this, we won't necessarily do this tonight unless you would like to do this tonight, but you can do this on your own, or it's something that you can wait for your new board members to have the conversation. But underneath on the left-hand side, you'll see a yellow sheet. In the self-evaluation, we often walk through this, and this takes a little time. So, and it's really just a template to ensure that The superintendent is clear, it has great clarity around what the board expects around, specifically around communication. Then when you flip it over, what the superintendent expects of the board. And it sounds like you've had that conversation. I heard the word no surprises. That's a hugely important clause for us. Never a surprise, ever, ever. In between meetings, during meetings, no surprises. When you show up to a meeting and you're going to ask a really challenging question of a staff member or a superintendent, no surprises. Please give them a heads up in advance to let them know that you're going to ask that question. Same thing for fellow board members. Make sure that you're always prepared by reading the agenda in advance, reading the packet in advance. I know it takes a lot of time, but if you have your questions, ask them in advance. Of course, you can ask them again at the meeting. Because for transparency, so the community can hear that question, but really great to ask in advance so the staff has time to answer, to get the information for you, so they can answer it during the meeting. Or they can always say, you know, we'll get back to you for sure. But so this, I leave this up to you. We can take the time tonight, or we can put a hold on it. You can consider it, maybe do it yourselves, or we can do it later.
I was thinking, we should just suggest this, suggested we turn this to a Google form. Have it sent out.
You can take your time and think about it, and it can be anonymous, and take some time to reflect.
Great. And then the other piece, and this, we found them from May 13th, 2019. That was the last time. And it was your board agreements that you had discussed that were made, and there were some highlights there. The red was something that was new, but it's been 5 years now since these were created. And so I've also included a pink sheet because the other thing about this is when you have new board members coming on, if you as a board establish your board agreements, and by agreement, I mean, you come to agreement. Yes, this is how we're going to act as a board. This is how we're going to do our work. What a wonderful document to give your new board member. But it's also important for them to have a voice in that. So there's this, but I also included the pink sheet, which is sample board protocols agreements. We put them one and the same. I've changed it up to make it a two-sided, numbered, lettered, so you can, a lot of boards have laminated it. So they have it at their meetings, they can refer to it. They, of course, edit if they see something that they don't agree with, but this is just a really good vetted list that you can refer to as well as you consider this. So like the communication expectations, I just recommend that you take a good look at these as well, especially before your new board members arrive. And so I leave that up to you as well. That's the next step that you want to take too.
This is like my second meeting. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This is before.
17.
Was it before you, Rachel?
Yes.
Maybe, yeah.
The revisions, the draft revisions.
Yeah.
And that's why I put in the sample board protocols, because they are 5 years old. And sometimes, you know, there's a lot, they're the same. There are some things in here that have been added, like social media protocols. Before COVID, people weren't as concerned about that. That's become a concern. How the board decides how they want to address Facebook posts and things like that. Those are really important discussions to have, especially for new board members coming on. So I'll let you consider these as well, how you want to go forward with that.
I do think that we should take some time to get it on the agenda. You know, we've got a meeting that, like, well, I don't know, but if we got a meeting, we're gonna lighter agenda where we can really focus some time. I mean, because I'm just looking through here right now, and the emergency information, number one, is would no longer be accurate if we got a deputy superintendent. So
might be a good maybe committee of the whole kickoff in September.
Yeah,
Reviewing these and comparing them to the sheet and then coming with our notes and stuff of what next maybe are most relevant to us, which. And comparing it to the sheet, yes, or. Things that.
What are our meetings? August?
It's only one, and it's the 12th.
yeah,
We bumped it to the second Monday instead of the fourth, because we have been in a habit of, or we have last minute hires. And they end up starting, because school starts before they're able to be approved, and so to make sure
Yeah, my
that we're doing
desktop.
things in the
I
right
didn't
order.
realize it.
I think we're still good with only one meeting, but having it before the first day of school will prevent that from happening in the future.
Yeah. I was just,
And
but yeah, September.
I think
I would be nice to have these in place for school start, but
we could get this out, I could get this to a Google form and have you guys take a look at it and then get that out at least.
I think this needs to be done and solid by the board. Come off the board,
yeah,
so they like. And so then that can be part of the training and conversation that, hey, this is.
yeah, and I think maybe, we can. You know, starting in September, maybe the whole, start coming up with some things that maybe no need to change. And then some other things that, you know, we can. Kind of say, we need to look at how we're gonna word this, how we're addressing this, you know, this has changed in the last 5 years, just in general in the world. And then, yeah, kind of go through a problem, not gonna be one day and everything's, all the changes are made, but at least get it rolling, so yeah, in April of next year. We can bring on new people and say, hey, familiarize yourself with this document for sure, understand, you know, these are. Our rules, kind of our bylaws, what we're excited to follow, so.
We'll put these on September committee of the whole and give you guys some time to look through and make notes, and I'm gonna send out a reminder, maybe, let's put it on the August, reports request, and discussions to remind everybody.
Yeah, it is a framework that just like, is there a policy for that for your district? If things, you know, if there's a difficult situation, it is nice to have things established that you can fall back on. And say, hey, we agreed to this. Remember this agreement? You know, just, it makes everything just a lot more clear for the board. Giving that clear direction, but it's not just the nice thing, it's not just during meetings, it's also between meetings. It's expectations between meetings, before the meeting, after the meeting, the vote, all of that. So how you interact with administration staff. So what are your procedures for coming to a school? When a school board member comes to a school, do you have a procedure for that? You know, do you follow, sign in like everybody else does? There's you'll see there's a whole litany list of that procedure as well. So definitely worth your time. And it'll make it easier on you and your new board members as well. Okay, any questions for me? I think I talked longer than we planned, but.
Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you for all you do, seriously, and I will send out these notes to you, and please reach out anytime. Katie is your director for this division. But any of us are happy to help. I'm always happy to help too. So just reach out.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Drive safely.
I will. I'm gonna stop at Whitey's.
Good idea.
Yeah. My family.
Well, thank you guys for everybody for doing that. Good idea. Got some things to think about. Oh, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have
No,
one small discussion thing. I think we did see that, the Karen Dahlstrom is leaving the, Only Public Schools Foundation. We posted about that to the director, so I would just encourage all of us to know a strong JV people that are interested in a part-time position. Their district. Apply for them. It is posted in the position, so just. Yeah, and reminder to all to.
An amazing full-time position, and it's So sad that year ago, but happy.
That was all.
Thank you, that's good. All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Got it.
Thank you.